Voices of verbs. Verbs have their own voices, but you have to know for this lesson the different parts of the sentence. You have to know the subject part and the predicate part. So there are two voices of verbs. Okay? You have the active voice and the passive voice. The active voice means the subject is the one doing or performing the action. Okay, let me repeat that. The active voice means the subject, okay, is the one performing the action. Okay, so the subject is also the doer of the action. Right? So, again, you are supposed to know to understand the voices of verbs, the subject part of the sentence, and the predicate part of the sentence. Okay? So, the subject is the doer of the action. So, let us see over here. Okay? The subject is cat, this one. Okay? And this subject cat, even in the picture, okay, chased the mouse. All right? So the subject cat is the one performing the action chased. Okay? In other words, the cat is the one doing the action verb chased. Okay? So in this example, the verb here is in the active voice because the subject is actively doing or performing the action. Okay? So if the subject is the one doing the action, and if the subject is also the doer of the action, the voice of the verb is in the active voice. Right? So in this example, the cat chased the mouse. The cat is the subject, and the cat is doing the verb or performing the verb chase. So the cat is chasing the mouse. All right, let's move on to the next voice, which is the passive voice. Okay. The passive voice means the subject is not doing the action. Passive means, the word passive means not doing anything at all. Okay? Not performing, not acting on the action verb. Right? So if the voice of the verb is passive, okay, that means the subject is not doing anything. It is not performing or acting on the action or the verb. Okay, it is not the one doing the action. So you are just talking about the subject, but the subject is not doing anything. It is not the doer of the action. Right? That is why it is called passive. Okay? Passive means not doing anything. It is just the subject, but it's not acting or not performing the action. All right, let's go back to the example earlier. All right, the mouse. Please disregard this. Okay, the mouse is the subject. The verb, okay, the verb phrase was chased. This one. Okay, this is the helping verb, and this is the action verb. Okay. The one doing the chasing is not the mouse. We are just talking about the mouse that was chased by the cat. But the mouse was not doing the chasing. So, in the question, to understand the passive voice better, let's ask the question based on the sentence. Was the mouse doing anything? No. No, we're just talking about the mouse. Okay, the mouse is just the topic of the sentence. Okay, so was the mouse the one doing the chasing? No. The mouse was the one chased by the cat, but it is not the one doing the chasing. right? So in this sentence, the voice of the verb is in the passive voice because the subject, which is mouse, is not doing the action was chased. Okay? It's also important to note, okay, that when you form the passive voice, all right, you have to have a helping verb together with the action verb. Therefore, a verb in the passive voice is always a phrase, a verb phrase. You have the helping verb in any form of be, so like was is the past form of be. So you have the helping verb followed by the action verb. Again, the voice of the verb is passive when the subject is not doing anything. It is the subject is merely the topic of the sentence. Shall we move on to the identifying the voice of the verb? Okay, let's see. The first one, William went to the Universal Studios last weekend. Right? So, to help you out, Teacher Christine will just highlight the verb, okay, or the verb phrase, but you be the one to identify if the voice of the verb in the sentence is in the active or passive voice. So, the verb for number one is went. If you said went, or if you answered went, then that is the verb. Okay, your answer is correct. Okay. For number one, the verb is went. Okay. Please identify the voice of the verb on your own. Okay. So for the second sentence, the verb phrase is are sold. Here, you have a helping verb in the form of be, and you have an action verb. All right, let's move on. So here you have the verb phrase were destroyed. The verb phrase is were destroyed. Okay, so again, you have a helping verb and an action verb. All right, okay, so let's move on to number 4. The action verb, okay, is spoken. Okay, there's a helping verb and an action verb. Okay, so the verb in sentence number 4 is the verb phrase is spoken. Okay. For number 5, we highlight the verb review. And for number 6, we highlight the verb ate. Okay. Now, on your own, okay, identify if the voice of the highlighted verbs in yellow, okay, if the voice is in the active, you put A, or if it's passive, you put P on the blank before the number. When you finished answering this, you may take a screenshot and message us at YTC so we can check your answers.